remember the way we used to move, dance all night like young lovers do. Your heart is changing. Now we don't dance like we used to. Silent disco on the floor, baby. Mr. DJ, he'll get me through. When the beat's gone, you can't save me, baby. Smoke and mirrors, pretty lights. Another runaway city boy getting too high. But boys like you tell pretty lies. The 5 a.m. low in your eyes says your heart is changing. Now we don't dance like we used to. Silent disco on the floor, baby. Mr. DJ, you'll get me through. When the beat's gone, you can't save me.
This is Broad Radio. For you, by you. Broad Radio. Here for more.
Hello and welcome to Broad Radio. I'm Jo Stanley and my co-host today is the delightful Anjali Rao. Hi there, Rowdy.
Hi, sweetie. How are you?
It's good to see you again,
too.
love. You've been busy, but you can't tell us why.
No. So I sort of paper over it when people ask me what I've been doing by, dodging and diving, ducking and waving.
Oh, yeah.
Don't have to go into any detail. Yeah. It's all very under wraps at the moment, but as soon as I can talk about it, I'll be right here doing just that.
Well, I know that I know what you're doing. I'm very good at keeping a secret, though. So
You are. You're fantastic. Oh my God, I thought it'd be all over the place by now.
I have not tweeted it once, but that's because everyone has jumped off board Twitter now, it seems. So.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think with good reason. And, Twitter is just it's just not happening at the moment. And, particularly with the news today that Elon Musk has now decided to cut the free lunches that all Twitter staff were getting at a cost of $400 a day. And everybody's up in arms about it. And, it's like, well, he's fired 3/4 of the staff. And now he's starving the rest of them.
Right. I was going to say there wouldn't be many staff left to feed.
No, exactly.
A couple of packets of Maggi noodles would have done that. It is so lovely to have you if you're watching and listening live. Of course, we would love you to follow along on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are watching, and comment, share, whatever you're thinking. And you can catch up on previous episodes on Broad Radio On The Go, our podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I have to announce that we have a new member of the team, actually.
Ooh.
Yes, it is our sign that I finally hung in our studios. We've been here. Oh, look, there's a bit. That's a video of me. I was like, what's that noise? Oh, that's the video of me.
It's ever so exciting.
Hanging the sign in our studio, in Broad Radio Studios. We've been here since March.
I know, but looks like dead profesh now.
It's fully profesh.
Yeah.
I know, we're like a real unit. The thing is, I don't know, it's like when you move into a house and you don't unpack a box, right? I've been here a long time. Have you got boxes unpacked
I've been
in your
the
house?
same house for the last 4.5 years, and there's an entire room that I just don't go into. It's just full of boxes, mostly with my Real Housewives of Melbourne costumes in it. So I never want to see any of them ever again.
You have to do a garage sale with those.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yes.
But yeah, I completely understand. It's like, that box is just staying there. I'm never going to unpack it.
Is it because you're fearful? Because I was trying to work out, why have I taken so long? Since March we've been here and I have not hung that sign. And, we're doing so much work behind the scenes. So I guess I feel like I'm very, very busy building both the app. We're building our podcasting arm. We've got the studio up and running for hire if you wish. Head on to broadradio.com.au. But the sign itself felt like, I don't know, maybe I was a commitment phobe to this space.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, that could be it. Maybe it was just plain laziness.
Well, there's partly that. It's getting the husband to do it because he's my handyman. But I think sometimes it's about being outside your comfort zone and going, okay, I'm committing now to this space.
And is he aware that you don't like commitment?
I've been married for 20 years.
Maybe it's time to share that little piece of information.
20 years married, so well, thanks. I think I am a commitment phobe who's happily married, so that's weird.
Congratulations on hanging the sign. I think, that says we've put our roots down and here's where we're staying.
Yes. Oh, see, that makes me nervous even thinking about that. Like, instantly I've just gone, ooh. Oh, no. And I love our space. I love it. But I think it's about believing in yourself that you are actually working to create something and going, yes, I am doing it. And in putting up such a public thing, I'm actually doing it.
Well, I mean, this will sort of solidify your commitment, I should think. You look at it and go, yep, that's it. Balls to the wall. Can't run away now.
My balls are so to the wall.
Practically flat.
Nailed flat. Absolutely. Notice that the sign is one I can easily take down and take with me.
Right, of course.
I didn't paint it.
Got to have that.
That's right. We've got a beautiful show ahead for you today. We have Shivani Gopal, who is an extraordinary entrepreneur founder who I met 2 years ago, actually. And she sort of half mentored me at that moment. And she's now launched an app called ELLADEX, which is a mentoring app. Really
fantastic idea.
Yeah, I love it. Because we need all the help we can get. And our next guest, our first guest actually, I wonder if they are people who are commitment phobes. I don't know about that. They have been touring a show called Love Sermon, a musical examination of love in its many varied forms. They're joining us from various parts of Australia. Firstly, it's been created and performed by writer Clementine Ford and musician Libby O'Donovan. We have Libby there, but I don't know where...
And we have a bookcase.
Where's Clem gone?
I tell you what.
I think she's a commitment phobe. That's it. That's what it is, isn't it? She's a commitment phobe. She's run away.
I've got a very bad lag at this end. I'm in Ocean Shores in New South Wales. I've got a gig at Byron tonight, and it's apparently the internet here is just as casual as everyone on the beach this morning. It's very good.
Well, it's a lovely part of the world to be in. And there's Clem. Good morning, Clem.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm a couple of minutes late, obviously.
No, you're not. I think we've started a little early. I don't know.
Okay.
It's great to see the two of you, and congratulations on touring this beautiful show, Love Sermon. The two of you on tour, best friends, singing and talking about love, going around the country. How much fun?
Couldn't really get any better than that, honestly. It's one of those things that it can sound a little bit overwrought, and maybe some people will think that this is a bit cheesy, but it really does feel like a profoundly life-changing experience to be able to share something so intense with a person you love already, but to build on that love in ways that you didn't really expect necessarily, just that intimacy of performing together. And I guess being in such an intense environment, it's really very bonding. I'm very grateful for it.
You know that when two friends travel together, it can either be solidifying or it can blow up that relationship.
Yeah, certainly, absolutely. And you get your periods at the same time if you're still at that age.
It's funny because I got my period in the first week, and then I was doing that sympathetic period pull to Libby, but it just quite wasn't coming. So for about 2 weeks of the show, the thing is that it's been really funny because we do have such a close relationship, and it's very, you can sense the intimacy between us when you see us perform and also when you see us post together on social media. And because we have this very binary idea of what romance and what love is in the world, both of us have had people say, "Oh my God, are you two dating?" And I find that, it's,
wow.
I'm not offended by that at all, of course, but it's just really interesting that that's the only space that we have in our brains for that kind of love for each other. The love that I have with Libby is more profoundly deep than almost any romantic sexual relationship I've had with anyone else. And it can be that and that be okay. You know, it's this idea that somehow, and this is something that we explore in the show as well, this, you know, the very different kinds of love that we have in our lives and what they mean to us. And we talk about witnessing each other, and it's very much a show that emphasizes the ways that women in particular are able to form those deep friendships with each other and to know each other in a way that romantic love sometimes just simply can't penetrate the deeper recesses of who we are. And I found it really revealing, I guess, that people look at that and they can't see that is a very deep friendship that is, you know, it's familial, it's romantic, it's, you know, we're like sisters in so many ways, but we're also like lovers. And the only space that people have in their brains for what a love like that looks like is if we have to be dating.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think also that you know, when you investigate concepts of love, that it changes with age, because, you know, I just remember as a teenager, you know, when my best friend went off with somebody else, oh my God, the hurt was so deep, worse than any romantic breakup I think I've ever had. And I think, you know, a lot of us can sort of resonate with that as well. Do you think, Libby, that you know, love and how we feel does change as we move through the years?
I think it does. I think we feel it in different ways, and we have more or less at stake. And we also have more, as we get older, we have more experiences of hurt and be that won't do the next time. You know, you start building your list of novels, in many ways. You know,
Libby,
how
your internet.
Oh, no.
I'm not loving your internet, I've got to say. We're talking live.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's jumping and being all click clack for us, which is no fun. Sorry to cut you off. But I'm interested in this notion of when your best friends broke your heart. When you were younger. And someone said to me the other day, because I'm still very, very close friends with my high school friends, and they're like, oh, is there still, you know, there's still troubling kind of like the bickering and the bitchiness that happened at high school? I'm like, no. Like, why would you do that? So I feel like as you get older, I think what you were saying, Libby, is that you have rules that you go, no, I won't compromise on this sort of behaviour anymore.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just saying, hopefully this translates, that you build your non-negotiables, which I think is based on how much you love yourself. And with that, as we experience love with others. And they're not bad things, and they're not hard and fast rules, and they're not nasty. It's just like, I won't subscribe to being treated in a certain way or allowing myself to be treated in a certain way. And we learn these things as we get older. And I think that means that by the time we're hopefully in our, you know, 30s, 40s, 50s and onwards, we have true love every time we love. And that's certainly what I found with Clementine and many friends that I have. That kind of love is fulfilling on all the levels, far more than romantic sexual love, which seems to have a lot of other attachments.
A lot of other demands.
Yes.
You know, when we do talk about romantic love, though, it's like, you know, I was thinking about this yesterday, and I've been in love in my whole life twice. One in my early 20s and currently, which is nice.
Nice.
But one of my closest friends falls in love like 3, maybe 4 times a week. Why? Why is it so much easier for some to, you know, give themselves over to that than it is for other people? Are they imagining it? Or is that possible that you can fall in love like all the time?
I feel like I fall in love constantly, but to clarify that, it's really falling in love with the potential for living. It's the way that particular things make you feel. It's not real love for me. When I say I fall in love constantly, I fall in love with someone I see on the street and don't talk to. You know, love is obviously able to be explored and expressed in so many different ways. But I think that, you know, I'm writing a book about marriage at the moment, and essentially why I think it's really bad for women. which is not to say that relationships are necessarily bad for women, although we know that there is a lot of inequality, particularly if women partner with men. But what I think has been very effective in the last 200 years, and specifically the last 100 years, because marriage as a concept has always been economic in practice until around the 1800s in the West, when this idea of like a love marriage began to take hold. And so then we replaced this idea of economic need with, you need to have a marriage that fulfills every single last one of those things, which is actually, it places an enormous amount of pressure on people to say that you must be everything to this one person. But it's been such an effective campaign to make people believe that even when you kind of say, look, the history of these things, the history of partnership and the history of kinship groups is nothing like what we're told love looks like. The magic and the promise of that, maybe that soulmate being out there for you to find them, is so deeply embedded in so many people that they can't let it go. Even though their rational brain might tell them that that is illogical, they still think, well, maybe this next one, maybe if I just swipe one more time, maybe they'll be there. And so I think that that's what kind of keeps people, I guess, as you say, in that, the revolving door of falling in love all the time. But one of the things that we're really trying to do with the show, and I guess just in terms of the personal things that I'm interested in, is to say that not only is that love not going to fulfill you in the ways that you think it might, because it can't. Like, one person simply cannot fulfill you in all of those ways. You have to, even you, Anjali, you've got, like, you're in love now, but you've got lots of other people around you who you also love, who fulfill parts of you. So to be able to say to people, you know what, you might not have a boyfriend, you might not have a girlfriend, but do you have lovers who are friends? Do you have family members who you're close to? Do you have love in your life? If you don't have love in your life in all of these other ways, and if you don't have love for yourself as well, if you haven't kind of reckoned with the fact that you are your longest relationship, you are born with yourself and you die with yourself, that is the longest relationship you'll ever have. And that is the one that you really need to make sure there is love in and there's respect and kindness to yourself. That if you don't have those things, then maybe they're more worth working towards than whether or not you just find another person to date. Because I think that the reason that people end up so unhappy in relationships is because they're trying to make them into something that they can't necessarily be. If the ways that you can know a romantic partner, even someone you live with, sometimes is, and often actually I would say, is nowhere near as deep as the way that you can really truly know a friend, say, Joe, like someone that you've been friends with for 30 years. And I quote Beaches in the show because I think that it's an amazing movie about female friendship. And because it's about women and it's for women, it's just been dismissed as rubbish throughout the years, which is misogyny. And there's a scene in there where Cece, played by the amazing Bette Midler, is talking to her husband at the time. She's had this big falling out with Hillary Whitney, her best friend of 30 years. And she's crying. And she says, what will I do without a best friend? And he says, you've got me. And she pats his arm and she says, it's not the same. And that's so true. It's not the same. The way that we love our friends and the way that our friends know us and witness us and the way that we witness them in return is a profoundly different kind of love from the person we may sleep with every night. And for me, this is not true for everyone, obviously, but for me, the most rewarding and fulfilling and deepest loves of my life have been with my friends and not with the person I might be dating at the time. Like, I'm a ferociously independent person, don't want to shock you, but I love that my friends, I can be my full self around them and there's no expectation in the way that in a romantic situation, you just do have to compromise. Necessarily bad all the time. Compromising you are a person in the world, particularly when you're a strong-minded woman, tolerable to me.
Yes.
I feel the same way, by the way, about fried green tomatoes.
Oh,
watch it.
Amazing.
Yes. Such a brilliant film.
I mean, and this is why I guess we love these films that do represent female friendship. I just recently watched Steel Magnolias again.
Oh, wow.
It's just, that notion that you are family.
Yeah.
Your chosen family. But a lot of it, I feel like, is that we are seeking love because the modelling around us is misleading, and often in our own families there might not be great modelling for love as well. And
True.
how, you know, that kind of, how do we find the healing when that's the case?
Well, I don't know if you want to, but I think that what I've learned in, you know, my 40 years in the world, and I'm still learning, but I do feel very proud of the fact that I've made it to my middle years, and I hopefully have a little bit more wisdom, is that there is a little child inside all of us, and I'm going to get a little bit into like wishy-washy child therapy here, but it's not wishy-washy. But there's a little child inside all of us that yearns to be loved, and maybe that child was loved well when we were little, but for probably a lot of us, particularly those who were raised by boomer parents, there's a little bit lacking in there. There's people who grew up with their own Depression era parents who were maybe, you know, withholding in certain ways. Once I realized that that little kid inside me, who was reaching out always to this kind of idea of her parents to be loved in a particular way, actually could be loved by me, it made a huge difference to the way that I saw myself and to the way that I treated that child. You know, I talk in the show about the multiple selves that we carry with us, that we think of ourselves, oh, it's just me, but actually there's like a whole range of different people inside. There's the children, there's the teenagers, there's the young adults, and every single one of them exists. If you can kind of like just go with me with this analogy, they are us, yes, they are our memories, but they also exist in a particular moment in time where they are full and complete people just by themselves. Like the 25-year-old version of me is someone who lives inside me as her own complete person, who is a little bit different to who I am now. And I have a lot that I can learn from if I sit down and talk to her and ask her questions and, you know, show her that I'm willing to know her and love her. She can teach me things. Same way that, you know, if I go and hold my little 5-year-old self or my 7-year-old self, and I was sent to boarding school when I was 7 for 2 years, and my parents lived half a world away, so it was sort of a very kind of time. And I feel like, you know, I say in the show that that 7-year-old girl is braver than I will ever be at 41, having gone through everything that I've gone through in my life, because she didn't have anyone with her when she was young and in desperate need. And she also didn't have all of the experience that I do now to know how to navigate it. So she was going in completely unprepared, and I can sit down with her and I can hold her and I can give her the love that she needed then, that she didn't feel like she was getting. And that radically the way that I've seen myself and I've seen love.
I do know you also, though, sing, of course, in this show. Libby, you are the official musician, although I know that Clementine's got a beautiful voice and has been a singer for a long time. What kind of music are you bringing in this show?
Well, excitingly, we have been writing original music for this show. So we started, when we first did this show in March at the Opera House as part of All About Women Festival, we put in songs that suited the sermon. So we talked about the best kind of music to sort of be a complement to the sermon. But now we have actually integrated music and written music together that completely speaks as part of the sermon. So now the music is definitely a flow on from the sermon. So it's in some ways it's like a whole musical and spoken word experience, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing. We just feel really connected in terms of writing music together as well. I think our friendship informs our writing, and it's just such a wonderful process. Yeah.
Amazing.
It
Gorgeous.
is amazing.
That's
So I
beautiful.
know that you have only just closed this tour, but you're planning on touring in 2023.
Oh, we've got big plans
Yes.
for 2023.
We sure do.
Sorry,
We want to take the show to. We are planning, fingers crossed, to do a tour in the UK. We've also got plans for new shows, a whole new concept. I feel like it's, you know, one of the amazing things, and I'm sure both you and Anjali, you and Joe can relate, is when you are a creative person, to constantly be given opportunities to build on that creativity and to explore new facets of who you are and what you can do in the world, particularly as you enter middle age, is just so, it's such a privilege to be able to do that. And to challenge people's notions of who you are, I guess, and to keep challenging your own notions of who you can be and what life can hold for you. Like, life is if we're lucky, life is long, but if we're determined, life can be rich, and I'm excited about it.
I love
Fantastic.
that. If
Me
we're
too.
determined, life can be rich.
I know.
It's amazing.
I need some more richness in my life, that's for sure.
Yeah. You're in love though, love.
Oh, I'm thinking about the other type of richness. The stuff that actually, is tangible.
Ladies, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on Love Sermon. I'm so happy that you're touring next year because I can't wait to see it. I did miss it this time around, so I'm looking forward to it hitting our festivals next year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. We'd love for you to come and see the show. Sorry I had to move. My computer was running out of battery.
Oh, that's so totally fine. The
Classic.
technology, I mean, when it comes to love, you wouldn't include technology in that conversation.
definitely
because, oh, my God. No. We got through jumping internet and all. Thank you so much, girls.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.
All righty. It's a bit of a shaky, jumpy show. I think we were supposed to be joined by Shivani Gopal, who may be joining us now. There she is. Oh, my gosh. I'm so excited. Hang on, we've got to pull you across because we haven't even had a chance to do a sound check today. Are you there, Shivani?
I am. Can you hear me? Hopefully all is fine.
Yes.
Oh,
Brilliant.
wow.
Lovely
What
to
a
see
day.
you.
Oh, it's nothing like flying by the seat of your pants a little bit.
Totally. And don't we know how to do it so well, right?
Well, listen, firstly, congratulations on your new app, ELLADEX. I was fortunate enough to meet you, Shivani, when you were kind enough to come on a podcast that we made called She Did You Can, which is leading into the launch of Broad Radio. And I spent like an hour with you doing that. And it was like a mentoring session for me. And now you've created an app, which is a mentoring app. Amazing.
What do you know?
Yeah, thank you. It's been, years in the making, to be honest. And he's my little one who is insisting on joining the interview today.
Oh, hello.
Say hi. Hi, Hunter. Hello.
Oh, Hunter.
Oh, he's lovely.
He's beautiful.
We've got a sick baby at home, and excuse the messy kitchen in the background. It's just, when you say flying by the seat of your pants, it's just what you got to do. But
that does not look like my messy
pleasure.
kitchen.
No.
That's the neatest messy kitchen I've ever
know.
seen.
Great. I'm happy to hear that. It's it was a 5-second last minute sort of dodge of throwing everything in the sink and making it look clean, messy. I'm sure we all know that feeling. I'm so sorry about that.
What is going on today?
This is the best day ever. Yes, tell us about your app.
Of meeting and yes, that was phenomenal. So thank you. The app has been years in the making, which is an absolute dream come true. For me, it's about giving women their own superpower of being able to have an unfair advantage to every success in career, money, and life. Because when I've looked at my overall successes in my financial services career, in my personal life, in my financial life as well, I actually bought my first property when I was 18 years old. The things that I did that got me there was me investing in my own relationship with lifelong learning, and having my own Rolodex of mentors. And my apologies, I hope you can still see me there.
Yes, all good.
Jumping at the screen. And I wanted to create a piece of technology that would enable women to access exactly that in a really easy way because, yes, I'm glad you're doing that. Because we all want for so much in life. There's nothing wrong with that. We all have so many goals, but life does get in the way. Busyness gets in the way. Sometimes naysayers get in the way. Sometimes we ourselves get in the way, right? And I wanted to create an easy way to help women be successful in their own way. And when I thought about it, it was about micro-learning, and it was about creating a daily habit to everyday success. Even if you could spend just 5 minutes learning about something that you're interested in, whether it be, your own sense of confidence, leadership skills, financial wellness, or anything in between. And so the app does exactly that, and it connects you with a Rolodex of mentors because you also need that in order to get ahead. It doesn't just take a village to, bring up a little one. It takes a village for yourself too. You need your network, and you need mentors who become sponsors, and that's exactly what ELLADEX is.
I know that you say, Shivani, that in your 20s you were denied mentoring. What happened? Like, in what particular way, and what sort of difference did it make to you?
It made me really emboldened, to be successful and to do it in my own way. I was 21 years old, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and wanted to be an incredible financial advisor. And I knew that I had to get access to mentoring. I knew I needed to get access to support in order to get there. And I approached someone who I thought was phenomenal, and professionally he was, but certainly not as a human. Because when I asked him, when I asked him to, if he could take me under his wing, his answer was a very blatant no. And in fact, he didn't think I could even, stick it out in the industry, and said, come back, I'm still around in 10 years' time. And I thought, well, I'll show you. And I did. And, about 5 years later, I ended up knocking him off the charts, actually. And he came back to me and said, we should work together. And I said, dude, I don't know if you know this, but I'm way beyond, you and your team now. And if you want to come work for me, let me know. But that process was really long. That process was really arduous. I did spend long nights, long mornings in the office. I was sometimes still there till 3 a.m., getting really, really good at my craft, because I knew that in order to be taken seriously in the world back then as a 21-year-old, I was probably 10 kilos lighter than I am now. I had braces on my teeth. My youth was very obvious. I knew that, my master's degree that I had under my belt wasn't going to be enough in order to convince people to invest, hundreds of thousands of dollars with me. There had to be something more. I needed an edge, and that edge was really, investing in myself, in my confidence, in my lifelong learning, so that I could be strong and emboldened on my own. And so I did that, and I became successful in my own right. But unfortunately, Ange, what I found was that as I became more and more successful, and then started to grow in the ranks, and got a seat in the boardroom table, there was really no women with me, and there was no women of color with me, and that made me really sad, because I just knew that there were so many talented women out there who wanted that opportunity, and they needed a support network in order to do it. And success like that should not be an enigma. It should be a success path that you can follow. That was so important. I also got to a point where I was, trying to mentor far too many women on my own, and realized I had to create a network to make it more sustainable. And, that was the bones and the birth, I guess, of ELLADEX.
I mean, that's sort of what I was thinking as well. It's like, we all lead such busy lives, at work and at home and all of that. And the idea of being a mentor to somebody, I think, can seem like just another big old spoonful of responsibility on top of this massive steaming plate of other responsibilities, do you think?
What an image. And so accurate.
Yeah. And so true. And I think that's why there's so many barriers with mentoring, right? I mean, Jo and Angie, you're both incredible women. You do incredible work. Are we still? You're there, great.
Yes.
But let's just say I don't know you from a bar of soap, right? And you want to help people, and I approach you on LinkedIn and say, hey, here's my goals and ambitions, and I'd really love for you to take me under your wing. Your mental response, your inner monologue, is going to probably be, oh, that's so great. I'm so rooting for her. Go her. And you'll probably just forget to respond because you're so busy, or you're meaning to respond. But you genuinely, as you said, you just don't have the time. You've got to look after yourself as well, and your own career and your family, and and then what about some personal time, and so it just gets really hard. And then there's the toing and froing, right? Then there's, okay, Shivani, what's your phone number? What's your email address? What time works for you? No, that time doesn't work for me. And the tech friction becomes a barrier point for the people who do have the time to help a little bit. And I thought really deeply about that. I'm actually a non-tech tech founder. And what I mean by that is that ELLADEX is a deeply rooted technological business. Of course, we have an app, and we invest in personalization and machine learning so that, we learn with you, so that whatever learning content we give you today is leveled up and different from yesterday, and also follows you and gives you what you want when you need it. But when it comes to mentoring, I really thought about this friction. And so we've really incorporated technology so that, you can come on board as a mentor if you would like to. You can set your availability. And I would come on board and say, I would connect with you and I would just choose a time. You don't need to send me your phone number, which also means there's that barrier breach that happens to beautiful mentors sometimes. You want to help, but you get a message on a Sunday night and you're like, crap, I just want some me time and I want to cook dinner and then I want to put my feet up with a glass of red. But now I really want to help this person again because there's a little crisis happening. So you get barrier breach a lot as mentors. And so we've protected mentors by protecting their privacy. And I just slide into your diary and then you get a notification to say, hey, the mentoring session's about to begin. And it all happens in video conferencing in app or via phone call without personal numbers ever being exchanged, which is also really important for women too. Privacy is super important for women as mentees. So we take away those technological barriers. We take away those personal barriers, which means that people who genuinely want to do good and genuinely want to be a mentor, if you can find a couple of hours here and there and you put that as your avails, then you can do that. You don't need a PA in order to help you out, and neither does the other person. And so, making technology really easy was really important because, as you both probably know and are probably avid users of, Apple Pay was, was the most popular with women first off, and it's because we just wanted easy technology.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And I wanted it. I want to go to the gym and not take my entire purse, which is clunky and heavy, and I just want to take my phone and pay for my coffee or my juice after a workout. And that's how easy you've got to make technology. If you want to make really good technology, positive technology for women, and you want to make it sustainable, because, the other bugbear I have is that technology right now, apps right now, they are time wasters. They're not time enablers. And you procrastinate on Instagram, and I wanted to create a network where you could have positive technology and feel really good about yourself, but it was also really, really easy to use.
Shivani, I love the sort of the premise of what you have always done with Remarkable Woman as well, which is the precursor to ELLADEX. Don't worry, it's fine. Don't worry about the sound. But I do love the premise of what you do, which is that women do want to support each other. And I don't know, there are still, I'm sure there's lots of stories around the toxicity between women, and I've never really met it. Generally speaking,
God,
what hasn't happened to me? If I reach out for help, I receive it, and I'm always here to offer as well. I don't know, I just think that largely women do want to help each other. Aren't we all in this together?
Yeah, look, we absolutely are. And also, look, if you have a bad experience with one woman, that's really sad. But have you ever had a bad experience with a male colleague as well? And that's what I would say back to people who go, oh yeah, women supporting women, that doesn't work out. I had the worst female boss this one time. I personally have had two, right? We all have, but no five fingers are equal, right? And no, I don't think. I think what we need to be really careful of is that we don't, tar everyone with the same brush and, hold our entire gender responsible for one bad interaction. You are going to have some interactions with some women that aren't, that aren't particularly supportive of you. You're also going to have the same with men, and worse, as we know with, issues of violence against women and so forth. But I think what's important, again, is that community and is that network, right? And when you've got a network that, is curated, anyone who isn't in it to support each other, well, frankly, they're not part of the community anymore. They're no longer welcome. So I think that's important from a structural perspective. The other point that I'd like to make around, this whole notion of, say, Queen Bee syndrome is that it's really not women who are at fault there. When there's only one seat at the table and that one seat is available for a woman or a woman of colour because of a quota, for example, it is only very natural. It is our human bias to want to support ourselves. And so naturally that person is going to try to support herself. There aren't enough seats at the table for her to be of an abundance mindset and be like, there are 5 seats at the table. I'm fantastic. I'm going for one. And you women should join me. There's literally no room for that. Right. And that's why the boys club is so plentiful, because there is so much room for abundance. There's chairs for everyone. Right. And so, what we really need to be doing is making sure that there aren't just one place for a woman. There's a whole table, that there's a whole community there, which is actually why, diversity, equity and inclusion in Australia, just giving you a heads up, we've done a major research paper on this. We'll be releasing it early next year. But we've actually found is hugely flawed in Australia. In Australia, we're really good at getting women in the door. We're really good at getting people of colour in the door. We're not very good at giving them roles of authority. And so, it's these systemic issues that is causing the queen bee syndrome, not the woman herself. And I think when we dig deeper, we really see that. But also, you're going to have bad experiences with everyone. That's why you need a community. I personally, part of my success model was a Rolodex of mentors, because some mentors were absolutely phenomenal, right? Really challenged me, really pushed my buttons. Others were great storytellers, and some just made me feel good about myself, and it was a good chat. But I needed that diversity of experiences in order to get on the journey and stay on the journey that I wanted to be on.
Have you had any mentors in your time?
Not really, but I've mentored someone, and I'm super proud. I was just thinking of her just then. She came into the TV industry having no TV experience whatsoever, and now she's senior anchor at a global television network. And I'm very, very proud of that.
I think that really highlights how rewarding being a mentor can be.
It must be really emotional as well at times, when you take somebody in your hands and then watch them fly, and it's largely down to how you sort of led them to that path.
Yeah, it really is. And we all remember those incredible teachers that have invested in us when we were young and believed in us. It's the same to be said about mentors. When people invest in us, they see in us what we can't see right now. They can see just 1 to 5 steps ahead of us, and believe in us and fuse in that our belief and say, look, generally I was exactly where you were, 5 years ago. Here's what I did. And I know you can do it too. And I had an incredible mentor, who did that for me. And he would just say, Shivani, you're just such a sponge. You just take it all in. And I did. I wanted to take it all in because I wanted to learn and I wanted to benefit from his incredible knowledge. And I was able to do so. And so, when you become a mentor and you're able to then give back in that way, it is so incredibly rewarding to see them go on that growth journey and then know that, you supported them in that. There's this incredible benefit of paying it forward. I should also let you know, though, that mentoring in ELLADEX isn't purely just altruism. It certainly is there in the sense that when you come on board as a mentor, you can donate the mentoring fees that you earn to a charity. But at the same time, we also wanted to, there's this huge unpaid economy out there, and men and women can be mentors on our platform, but women especially, there's this massive unpaid economy, right? And we wanted to really debunk that, and we also wanted to create a way where people could capitalize on their incredible IP. Why not? So mentors are actually paid in the ELLADEX platform. The mentee pays the mentor for their hourly rate, and it's all done in-app. And you're also remunerated by way of, your time. So you feel really good, but it's also a really great way to have a really meaningful side hustle for yourself.
I love that. That's amazing. And you're so right. Women are always asked to work for free. And it's just not, how do you get started as far as repairing the gender pay gap if we're continually working for free? It's just...
Absolutely.
It's just illogical and not okay. And I think, too, you're removing barriers for women as far as that confidence, that lack of confidence that, I remember having that chronically when I was younger. I still have it now, really. We're at 50. So
You do?
Yes.
Never be able to tell.
Don't we all have those moments? I said to my husband yesterday, are we all just pretending?
That imposter syndrome.
Well, just in life, you walk around making people... convincing yourself that you're confident, but often you're not, no matter how old you are, would you say, Shivani?
Yeah, totally. And I say this a lot. there's this massive illusion that we live in, that is that we have found ourselves or that we have arrived in the world. And the biggest lesson that I learned for myself is that I have never found myself. I know who I am, but I'm forever finding myself and pursuing, my ever-growing potential, whatever that is. But it also means that I fall off the bandwagon sometimes. Sometimes I'm this incredible, fearless, bold, formidable woman that feels like, I'm sparkling from everywhere. I'm sure you both have those moments where you think, I am just on fire. I've got this. And then there are days that you just self-loathe, and you just think, why did I do that? Why did I behave in that way? I cannot believe I said that. And you go into this really negative spiral, where your imposter syndrome massively kicks in. What's so important when you realize that you've never arrived in the world and that you are constantly finding yourself is that you realize you've got to put in the work, and it's a journey, and you consistently put in that work for yourself, and you do it by working on you, by reinvesting in you. You've got to think about yourself as a plant. In some ways, you've got to keep nurturing that plant. And that's why we designed ELLADEX in that way, because it's not like you just do a degree and boom, off you go. Congratulations, you've got everything that you need to survive in this world. That's why, you need connections with other people so that they can remind you, hey, Joe, look at where you are today. Look at what a phenomenal thing that, both you and Ange have done, a radio station for women. I mean, it's so obvious, but yet so groundbreaking. Like, we need our space, right? And you need people who remind you of that. So you go, yeah, I am really awesome. And then you tap back into things. And sometimes you need exercises to do that. One of the exercises that we recommend in the app is write down right now. I challenge all of your listeners to do this right now. If you're in the car, then mental note, do it when you pull over. 15 things that you've achieved in your life that you're really proud of. And your inner imposter syndrome is going to say to you, I don't have 15 things. You do. You absolutely do. The moment you turn that tap on, it's going to come flowing right out of you, right? And so this will remind you of all the stuff that you've achieved in your life, that you've conquered, rather than all the stuff you are yet to do. It's a great hack to bringing you back to you. And the thing is, you're going to have to do little hacks like that, little investments like that into yourself. It may only take 5 minutes, but you've got to keep doing it so that you can continually be on that journey of finding you. Because I'm with you, Joe. I also feel like there are times where I'm just not confident, just feel terrible. I mean, hey, 10 minutes before getting on this interview with you, I was like, oh my God, I'm sick, my son's sick, my kitchen's a bomb, I haven't prepped, but okay, fine, we're going to do this, and you will have times where you doubt yourself and you're just not there. And that's okay.
Well, Shivani, I have to say thank you to you for battling on, because I know you were sick, and beautiful Hunter is unwell. I mean, I love that Hunter joined us. When a baby joins the show, it's an absolute delight. But I just love what you're doing.
A baby male as well.
Yes, love little Hunter. But yeah, thanks for battling on and for joining us. And we love your app. It's called ELLADEX. Do download it. I love that it's habit forming, bite sized, because I'm very passionate about the psychology of habit. So congratulations. I know it's a huge amount of work for you. So congrats on this baby being birthed.
Thank you so much. It definitely is a baby. And thank you for your support. And please do download the apps yourselves and let me know what you think. I'd really love your feedback.
I have downloaded it, and I have been, just scrolling through the different workshops and the various things that we can do. There's lots of different ways of engaging with it, and I love it all. It's great.
Oh, that makes me, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for letting me know, and thanks for having me on the show. It's been such a pleasure.
Thanks, Shivani. You take care.
Thanks, Hunter.
My workout routine comes with me wherever I go, and so does Bondi Protein. It gives me the post-workout nutrients I need. Fuel your body with Australian-made Bondi Protein.
Broad Radio. Talking inspo we love, info we need, and sharing more of us. Watch and listen live every Tuesday 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time at broadradio.com.au, or find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and LinkedIn at Broad Radio Oz. Talk to us live. Call on 1300 8 Broad. Catch up on demand anytime, anywhere, every time, everywhere. On the train, we'll be here. 2 a.m. existential crisis? We've got you covered. Broad Radio. Here for more.
Now, Ange, I have to tell you and our audience who are joining us today, our listeners and viewers, I have mentioned previously our podcast that we are producing in partnership with Morris Blackburn Lawyers. It's called Lay Down the Law, and it's about looking at all the different landmark cases that have actually changed society and the lawyers that have been involved in those cases and have really fought with advocates, community advocates, to change society. Yeah, it's a beautiful series. We've just launched our 3rd episode, which is about 3 Aboriginal sisters from the Adjumatana people near Hawker in Flinders Ranges in South Australia, who saved a sacred area from a nuclear waste dump. It sounds insane to us.
It sounds like a movie.
Well, it does. Honestly, it should be a movie.
It should be a movie, definitely.
It should be a movie. It sounds insane to us that there would even be a consideration that you would put a nuclear waste dump where there is a sacred site.
Right. I mean, there are plenty of other places, surely, that are not sacred.
It's a big country.
I know.
But this is the thing. So in 2015, the site was nominated, and this area is a site where 14 songlines or storylines interact, including one called the Seven Sisters songline. And it's a very sacred space, especially for women. And the thing is, songlines and storylines are what they call intangible cultural significance. So it's not an archaeological site. It's not where you'd go and see rock paintings or where you'd see artefacts. It is the land, it's the earth, it's the trees and the hills. It's sort of they call it intangible because it's not something you necessarily pick up or take a photo of.
Right, yep.
But it's significant because the songlines run through it, and there's 14 of them in this particular area.
Yep.
And I was joined by 2 of the 3 women, these incredible women who took it upon themselves to fight this particular site.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, they were amazing. And 2 of the 3 sisters, Regina McKenzie and Heather Stuart, joined us on this podcast. And they started, I'm going to share a snippet with you now. They started by explaining to me, and because I really don't know a lot about the cultural significance of what a songline and a storyline is.
Yep.
I'd sort of heard it mentioned before, but never had it really explained to me. So Regina and Heather begin by explaining what the songlines or storylines mean. They're sort of interchangeable term, and what the impact of desecrating a storyline is. Take a look.
And the storylines, they are there to explain the land and their landmarks to get you home. And these stories, they run like across the land and into other areas.
It's like a play. One hill could play 4 characters, but you know, and it changes as the story changes, as the stories come in, especially where it's overlapping, and it's very complicated when you're trying to explain it to somebody, but it's like our book. When you go to a library and you go through your library and you check all your storybooks in a library, it's the same way when we go out on country. We're going out in our library.
And if that storyline is destroyed, that's like a page out of your storybook ripped out, you know. And,
a chapter.
Yeah.
Can you explain to us what the Seven Sisters songline is?
The Seven Sisters, we call them Martinis. That is one storyline that connects every nation of Aboriginal people. The only way I can explain it, that it goes through Australia like a web all the way through, and if there is a Seven Sisters that is impacted in one spot, every Aboriginal woman in Australia is affected through that, because the storylines flows through the land like a spiritual river that goes through, and it's something that it affected us, but we also know and believe that it affected every Aboriginal woman in Australia.
Once that site is desecrated,
It's not finished.
like that storyline, it's not finished
It's scarred.
but it's scarred, and it what's going to happen is kids of the future, like our lot today, know that is the Seven Sisters songline and the site, specific site, and that there are other sites there. But like Regina said, the other sites were desecrated as well that come through that area. That Seven Sisters site that got desecrated, we have now, when we really don't want to, we've got to tell future generations and get that passed on that this is the Seven Sisters songline site and the significant site. But the thing is, it's been desecrated, so in hindsight, that's that terrible thing that we've got to tell others that
It's how it's been desecrated,
how it's been desecrated, and that there then also becomes a part of it. They got to know about that desecration, because if things go wrong spiritually and with the land, they'll know that's it, maybe because of that desecration.
So the interesting thing for me that I learned around that is how little we know as white fellas how that oral history is passed down, and it continues on from generation to generation. And now that because they just went in and actually did some testing before they even did the site, they've desecrated it, and that's changed that story forever.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I can't stand it that it's sort of seen as, woke and therefore contrived to to back up and stand alongside Australia's Indigenous people. It's like, it's an honour to live alongside the oldest continuous society in the world. And who is this group of non-Indigenous who've been here for less than 250 years to go into a site that has lasted 40, 50, 60,000 years to go, well, that's irrelevant and therefore worth razing to the ground, and you can't do anything about it. I mean, what does that say? It's just awful.
Well, white fella just doesn't care, right? Overlooks
appalling.
it.
Really appalling.
It is appalling. So those three sisters, Regina and Heather, who we saw there, and their sister Vivian McKenzie, they went into action, right? So they heard about it on the radio, and they contacted the ABC, Reuters. They got conservationists on board. They began this campaign that just involved people from all around the world. They contacted, this is incredible, the First Minister in Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, because they discovered, they discovered that part of the waste is coming from the UK. So they actually went back to the origin of the nuclear waste and started appealing to those people. They got people from all around the world. They spoke to Josh Frydenberg. They had all these people with them. Incredible. This advocacy was unbelievable. And halfway through that, they then brought Maurice Blackburn lawyers on board because they did need some, the legal side of things to be covered as well at the same time. And that lawyer was Nicki Lees, who is the Social Justice Senior Associate at Maurice Blackburn Lawyers. And so we're going to play another little snippet here. And she begins by acknowledging these incredible women.
These powerhouses of women did not need lawyers to advocate for them. They were doing that themselves. They were doing it, in partnership with other organisations, with community members. So in terms of, the political advocacy, I would call them up and they've already spoken to 2 ministers by 9 a.m. So they were just, really on top of all of that.
And the media as well. Like the media. They were just, let's call the ABC. Let's speak to to Scotland. Like, that's incredible.
Yep. The First Minister of Scotland was already involved.
The First Minister.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it was a really unique situation for us, because often you do bring lawyers in and you kind of come up with a case strategy and a media strategy and an advocacy strategy. But I was constantly 3 steps behind these women. It was, they're just, powerhouses. And it's a complete credit to their ongoing, I guess just the willingness to never give up. And that has been so obvious throughout the whole process. Even when Regina's hair went white, as she was saying.
I think they just picked the wrong spot.
And the wrong women to mess with.
They did pick the wrong women to mess with. But look, from a legal perspective, and it's a difficult situation, and I think this issue is really indicative of other issues that we see come up across Australia, and that's really that our legal system just does not protect Aboriginal cultural heritage properly in this country, and really trying to fit the importance and trying to understand the importance of cultural heritage and have that recognised in our legal system was really trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It really felt like, whitefellow law just didn't get it, and the legal system isn't set up to actually protect particularly intangible cultural heritage. So, you use what you have. So that's really looking at judicial review. So can we challenge the minister's decision? We put them on notice that we were watching, and basically just going down the track of trying to find any kind of, things that you can nitpick around how decisions have been made.
To you, Nicki, when I talk about my intangibles, it's my belief. It's like a religion, okay? So would the government be able to do this to any other religion that's been identified and like to either a Catholic person or to a Muslim person or to a person who practices Judaism and stuff? How does the law protect those religions?
Well, that's the thing, there is particular legislation, protecting other religions, but when it's First Nations heritage, it's not caught by those.
But that's what our heritage. That's what our heritage is about.
Exactly.
It's a very good question that you posed there, Regina, and I can see why you were such a formidable foe because it just cuts through the issue. How can they possibly not see that this is something that needs to be protected, but whitefellow law hasn't caught up with it?
This is one of the issues that I had during this fight. I said every other religion is protected under law. They would not do this to a Catholic church. They would not do this to a Muslim mosque. They would not do this to a Jewish temple. Yet they do it to my sacred places. Like when we went out there with the French people, and we stood them, and I asked them how important Notre Dame was to them, and they said very important. And they said that's our place of worship and all this, and they explained it to us what Notre Dame meant to them. Next day we went out and we stood out at Bandurria, and as we jumped out the car and they jumped out, and I said, "Welcome to my Notre Dame." I said, "This is my place of worship. This is where I come and talk to my old people and my old ones." And that's what the government needs to understand. That when Aboriginal people talk about our old ones, it is our creator beings. It is our creator who put these stories there. It is our religion. And we should have the same kind of protection that any other religion has. And the thing that I always talk to you about, Nicki, is I like the United Nations Indigenous Human Rights. All right? If they were to implement that here into Australia, all right, we wouldn't have these problems.
So the United Nations Indigenous Human Rights, we don't seem to comply with it here, which I find astounding.
Absolutely. I mean, God, what those women did is so incredible. The town of Hawker has 400 inhabitants, but somehow these three women managed to bring it to global media attention, like media outlets all over the world were talking about this. And I really think that those women just are the living epitome of that wonderful Eleanor Roosevelt quote that a woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong she is until you put her in hot water. I mean, they really sum that up, don't you think?
Absolutely, but also the way that they were able to exactly what Regina is saying there, the double standard is so blatant.
Yes, I know. And I did find it a little curious that the cattle station where that nuclear waste facility was to be built is owned by this senator who lives in Adelaide. And that particular senator once chaired a Senate committee on storing centralised nuclear waste. Isn't that curious?
And what you actually have put your finger on there is the way you can have a site nominated. Individuals can nominate the site, not the government.
Yeah.
And that site was nominated by an individual.
Yes. Oh, something to ponder on.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. And just the
Absolutely.
disregard for what is such a beautiful culture. And as you say, Ange, we are privileged to be a part of a country that is, always was and always will be Aboriginal land. And we are indebted to those 3 women for saving that site. Absolutely extraordinary. Do check out that whole podcast, Lay Down the Law, it's called. This episode is called Saving a Sacred Site. But episode 1 is about safe access zones for women around abortion clinics. Beautiful story and really, really empowering. And episode 2, an important one also, making superannuation fair. So check out Lay Down the Law wherever you get your podcasts. And while you're there, why don't you check out Broad Radio on the Go, which is all of our other episodes. So many, like there's over 100 interviews with extraordinary women there. So do that. Ange, as always, thanks for joining us on this
Anytime.
show.
I love being here and I love chatting with you. And we always have such wonderful guests on, and we love our audience too.
Yeah. So we'll have you again soon when you have more to share about what's going on in your life.
I can actually say stuff that has been going on.
Yes, can't wait for that. We will be back with Broad Radio next Tuesday. We'll see you then.
No, there was a